You want to verify a supplier, so you open their page and you read it. Minimum order, price breaks, certifications, lead time, production capacity. I've been on the other side of that page. I counted. To put one of those pages online, I filled in 57 boxes. 57. And not one of them. Not one. Did anybody ask me to prove? One clarification. Because it matters. The platform I sell on isn't the one in this video's title, and I'm not here to speak for Alibaba. I can't tell you what happens inside a company I don't sell on. What I can tell you is what happened when I sat down in front of that back end and started typing. And the form is the point, because this form looks almost the same on every one of these platforms. Every number you're using to judge that supplier, somebody typed it into a box. It isn't a measurement, it's a claim. And once you know that, verifying a supplier stops being about checking whether the numbers are true. It becomes something better. Start with the first one, minimum order quantity. I type 10. Now, if you're a buyer, you read that as a fact about the factory. 10 units is the smallest batch they'll run. The factory never said 10. The factory never said anything about it. Here's where 10 came from. I sat down with a calculator and ran the shipping. On a 5-unit order, domestic courier came out to about 3,120 apiece. That alone ate roughly 20 points of my margin. Small orders don't just earn less, they cost more per unit to send. 10 was where I decided that stopped being worth it. Not a threshold anyone gave me. A line I drew. 10 isn't the factory's production floor. It's my break-even. So flip it around. When you see a very low minimum order, 10, 20, 50, you've learned something real. Not that the factory is flexible. You've learned the seller is small and shipping costs hurt them. In my experience, a large trading company doesn't set a minimum at 10. Packing 10 units isn't worth the paperwork. That number is honest. It's just honest about something else. Next field, the price ladder. 4 tiers, 10 to 29, 30 to 99, 100 to 499, 500 plus. Each one cheaper than the last. Every buyer reads that the same way. Bigger order, lower cost. Take the cheapest thing I sell. Top tier, I listed it at $3. Bottom tier, $2.25. I came down 75 cents. Now here's my actual cost. Top tier, 92 cents. Bottom tier, 77. My cost moved 15 cents. The factory quotes me one price, 10 units, 500 units, same price per piece. The only thing that drops is how thin I can spread domestic shipping. That's the 15 cents. So of that 75-cent discount, 15 cents is real, and 60 cents is me deciding to take less. That ladder isn't a cost curve, it's a negotiating position, laid out in advance. I built each step, knowing where I'd stop, and I gave myself a floor. I'm not telling you my floor, but there is one, and I picked it, and that gives you a genuinely useful signal. A shallow ladder means the seller has no cost ladder of their own, which usually means you're talking to a trading company, not a factory. In my experience, a real factory, running your order down a line, does get cheaper at volume, and its ladder gets steep. Read the slope. The slope tells you who you're talking to. Of those 57 boxes, 11 I left empty. Registered capital, floor space, R&D headcount, QC headcount, number of production lines, annual output value, certifications, management system certifications, registered company website, production capacity, and an EU responsible person, which I don't have because I don't sell there. I left them blank because I don't have them. No ISO, no BSCI, no audited factory floor because it isn't my factory. Here's the thing though, nothing stopped me from filling them in. There was no upload button demanding a certificate, no verification step. I could have typed a number into annual output value and moved on, and the listing would have gone live exactly the same way. I want to be careful here because this is where it's easy to say something I can't back up. I'm a free tier seller. I never paid for a verification badge, so I don't know what happens to sellers who do. There may be an audit at that level. I've never been through one, and from where I was sitting, 11 empty boxes went online without a single question. So when you see a blank field, don't read it as sloppy. Read it as the one place a seller chose not to make something up. A profile with every single box filled in is not more trustworthy than one with gaps. It's just more confident. The gaps are where somebody decided to stay honest, and that's worth asking about rather than walking away from. Now, I don't want to leave you with the idea that nothing gets checked. Something did. My business license, the registered name, the unified credit code, the name of the person who owns it, mine. That got checked. That part is verified in the proper sense of the word. What I typed had to match what the license says, and I couldn't have put anything else there. So, think about what that actually buys you. The platform confirmed that my business exists. It confirmed who I am. It did not confirm a single thing I said about my products. And I can show you the gap, because I fell into it myself. There's a field for custom order minimums. The smallest run the factory will do if you want your own version made. I typed a number in, submitted, and it went live. 6 days after I submitted it, I put the product on a scale. The number I'd published was wrong, not by a rounding error. The quantity I'd listed came to about 12 kilos. The factory's real threshold is 20. If a buyer had ordered at my published minimum, the factory would have turned it down. At the time, I wrote in my own notes that this was the only thing I had live that was actually wrong, and the highest priority thing to fix. Nobody flagged it. No system caught it. I caught it with a kitchen scale, 6 days after I submitted the listing. So let's come back to the question you started with. How do you verify a supplier? Here's the honest answer. You can't verify a self-reported form. Reading it harder won't help, and neither will a checklist telling you to look for certifications, because I could have typed those in too. What you can do is read it the way the person who filled it in reads it. Minimum order of 10. This seller is small and shipping costs hurt them. Useful. A shallow price ladder. This seller has no cost ladder of their own. You're probably talking to a trader, not a factory. Also useful and worth knowing before you start negotiating. Empty boxes. This seller had the option to make something up and didn't. That's the closest thing to a signal of honesty the whole page offers, and most buyers read it backwards. None of those three tell you whether the supplier is telling the truth. All three tell you who they are, and who they are is what actually determines how the order goes. Every number on that page is somebody's decision. The minimum order is a decision, the ladder is a decision, the blank is a decision, and the one I got wrong and caught myself. That was a decision too. Just a bad one. Read the decision, not the number. Next week, another figure that somebody typed into a box.